Very well, and on to the daily list now. On the front page of the Star newspaper, Ruto's moment of truth as UDA holds primaries. Ruto's moment of truth as UDA holds primaries. DP will be walking a political tightrope as allies square off. The biggest contests are in Mount Kenya and Rift strongholds. Now, chaotic nominations could damage DP's image in Mount Kenya. That is what is happening in the country right now, with ODM still underway with that exercise. We will have a guest in studio here who already has a ticket in the pocket. Big win for slum schools in Form 1 placement. Professor George Magoha yesterday released names and Form 1 placement and said that all children who sat for the examination must be admitted to a school. All right, very quickly to second page. Doctors replace heart valve without surgery. It says that Patil says that Carlos' operation is good news for the medical fraternity. In this case, Patil is the doctor who undertook that procedure, and Carlos is the patient. And now they say that that is what is happening. All right. So there is a gentleman here in Kilimani who has sued his neighbor for allegedly spying on him. So Kilimani neighbor spies on me with CCTV, court told. Man says that next door neighbor uses her CCTV to spy on him and his family. And now he is compelling the court to compensate him for damages and for evading his privacy. That is happening in Kilimani. Tough times, all right? So, Ruto's moment of truth as UDA holds primaries. We have got different regions. In Kiambu, for example, we have got Ferdinand Waititu. We have got Kimani, Kimani Wamatangi, Cleophas Lagat running for that seat in Nandi County. We have got Benjamin Chiboy, Baringo governor. We have got Stephen Sang, who is Nandi actually the incumbent Nandi governor, as well as Henry Kosgei, Nandi governor. Now let me give you a breakdown on how it looks like. In Kiambu County, we have got Ferdinand Waititu, Patrick Wainaina, Kimani Wamatangi. Nandi County, Stephen Sang. Actually, we have got 6 candidates in Nandi County. In Elgeyo Marakwet, we have 5 candidates. In Uasin Gishu, 4. Baringo County, 6 candidates. And Kericho County, 5 candidates. So it's a moment of truth. But in total, we have got 4,000 hopefuls who will be running in Rift Valley and 2,000 elsewhere, bringing that total number to 6,000 countrywide. All right, and finally, Raila flies to US next week after primaries to diaspora voters. Former Prime Minister is expected to hold town hall meeting in Washington, D.C., and that trip will take place on 21st of this month, just hours after ODM concludes party nominations. We'll be talking about party nominations, which is currently ongoing in different parts of the country, and with reports saying that former Funyula MP Polo Tuma has bagged that gubernatorial ticket in Busia County with 49,000 votes, flooring Florence Mutua, who garnered 30,000 votes. Before I take it to Jen, Doreen, what do you have?
All right, so let's come to the People Daily, and perhaps we can begin with what is happening in Mombasa County, that is in respect to that gubernatorial race in that particular space. And this is after the entry of the former Nairobi governor, that is Mike Sonko. So will that in any way destabilize, or in what way will it shape how Mombasa County is going to look like, particularly when it comes to that gubernatorial race? This is obviously when Mike Sonko was joining the race, adding to the likes of Shabal, the businessman, as well as the current Mvita MP, that is Nasir. So this former governor was impeached in December of 2020, obviously due to issues of gross misconduct as well as violation of the constitution. This again is really interesting because you're also seeing the former Kiambu governor Waititu also again on the race. So what does this say about these governors who are impeached again getting back to the political space and the political race all together. So also we have matters to do with education there, and seeing how affirmative action has really taken center stage to the placement of KCP candidates, or I mean the KCP candidates to high school, and this is part of what was used by the ministry. And just going by this particular report, it also shows that at least so far 1.2 million KCP exam candidates have found place in 9,200 public secondary school. And also what the ministry is saying is that as it is, 100% transition has been achieved in the Form 1 placement. We also have the issues to do with taxes, and this is just as it stands, whereby at least as of today afternoon, the National Assembly is set to debate the first reading of the finance bill. And even as this is happening, we are being told that Kenyans need to brace themselves as this bill seeks to introduce new taxes. Remember that while the CS was reading the budget, he had talked about the 10% excise duty being imposed in some commodities, which he didn't quite mention this commodity. So what does this really mean for Kenyans, given that time is really difficult and Kenyans are really living at a very difficult time with the hike of prices of different goods and products across the country? And also, lastly, the issue of drought and starvation continues to ravage the country, with the number rising to right now 3.1 million Kenyans, particularly in the arid and the semi-arid areas, and also the counties being affected rising to 28 so far in the country. You can remember that earlier on this year, the state had at least tried to mitigate the issue of drought, but as it stands, it just continues to affect the bigger part of the country, and particularly in those the north parts of the country, and also largely the arid and the semi-arid lands of Kenya. Jane.
Now, let me bring you back to the Daily Nation, but that was quite the question, Doreen. What does this mean when governors are impeached and then all of a sudden, before you know it, they're back vying for different gubernatorial seats in different counties? But let me start with the Daily Nation. The whole question concerning fuel, is it a question of hoarding, or what really is the situation? Oil marketers are under probe, and this particular piece focuses on information that is said to have been disclosed by high-ranking government official sources that confided, or rather disclosed this information to this particular daily, that they are the country's third largest oil marketer. The country's third largest marketer, that is Ruby's, is among those that are under watch for quote-unquote unreliable supplies due to what has been noted in their particular petrol stations. It stands out as having some queer shortages, as well as having rationed sales, and this is contrary to what has been witnessed in the two leading oil marketers, that is Vivo and Total Energies, respectively. And according to this particular piece, they go on to say that this particular situation of having unreliable supplies is not really as dependable information as it could be, because it is said that they get their supply from the same source, and this is according to EPRA's inventory, showed that the total stock at where this particular three oil marketers get their sources, by last week Thursday, the stocks were at 212 million liters for petrol and 188 million liters for diesel, which can be concluded to be sufficient stocks. So this particular situation that is being witnessed at the Ruby's petrol station is definitely under scrutiny, and they will be looking further and giving more information as and when that will be concluded. The main read on the front page of the Daily Nation: Kalonzo rocks Raila coalition. This comes just with about 2 weeks to go to when IEBC requires this particular party leaders, or rather coalition leaders, to name their running mates. Kalonzo Musyoka has thrown spanner in the works. Let me get this particular story. Yes, in the Azimio coalition deal, where he said there's some 3 particular areas of concern that he needs addressed when it comes to this particular coalition agreement that was submitted on the 9th of April. Number 1 is the question of the running mate. Number 2 was the withdrawal of certain clauses that were amended and altered without the consent of all the parties and signatories. And number 3, the expansion of the members of the coalition council from the initial 7 to 11, saying, and this is meant to accommodate some rebelling groups that are led by Governor Mutua. These are the points of concern that were raised by Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka. And finally, the question on picking a running mate. That has also been captured here on this particular daily. It is a tough balancing act for Raila and Ruto when it comes to picking a running mate, with only 2 weeks to go, as is required by the IEBC, the deadline being set on the 28th of April. They have, which will actually be just 6 days after the end of the primaries. They have until then to choose their potential running mates. But according to this particular daily, looking at the names that have been fronted by the particular parties, looking at Dr. Ruto's fold, we have Musalia Mudavadi, Speaker Justin Muturi, we have Rigathi Gachagua, Anne Waiguru, Kithure Kindiki, as well as Alice Wahome, and Ndindi Nyoro. Those are the ones that have been fronted when it comes to Dr. Ruto's side. However, still looking at Gachagua, Waiguru, Wahome, and Nyoro, they are still seeking to defend their current positions. On Mr. Odinga's side, the names that have been fronted as potential running mates are Kalonzo Musyoka. We have Peter Kenneth, Martha Karua, and Peter Munya. And most recently, we did see Machakos Governor Alfred Mutua also express his interest in this particular role. That, ladies and gentlemen, is what has been captured on the front page of the Daily Nation. Regina.
Sneak peek onto the Standard. Form 1, big rush for national schools. This exercise started off yesterday. A lot of reactions from guardians and parents there about the selection. Some who have been, called to schools that are very far off from where they reside, and more so day schools. So parents are asking, how do they get reprieve? Is it back to the drawing board and looking for private schools following, Form 1 placement? Now, from the court is that Chief Magistrate Martha Mutuko suspended the 19 million shillings graft case against Malindi MP until August to give her time to seek votes. That is also getting me thinking, so what if she's found guilty of that issue? What happens? And what role does the integrity clause play in as far as elective politics is concerned? Those questions are likely to be answered under People and on Politics in not too long. Then fuel shortage bites ahead of the price review. We expect that EPRA is going to be giving the new prices for the month in the next 2 days, which happens to be 14th. And on a spot check there carried out by KBC Channel 1 indicated that fueling stations that had that particular commodity, and we're talking about petrol, was characterized by long queues and rationing to at least petrol worth 1,000 shillings. Ahead of the festivities, some of the issues that Kenyans are having with that particular situation, or the situation we find ourselves in, is that are they going to be traveling to the countryside for the Easter holidays? We'll be keeping tabs on that, given that it is one of the trending topics on Twitter this morning. Hashtag fuel shortage. And the question is, umeweka ngata wapi? Where have you fueled, and when was the last time that you fueled? These are the questions that Kenyans are asking each other on that particular platform, maybe to just help, direct a fellow motorist to where fuel is available. Now, across the African continent, in Somalia, over 350,000 children are at a risk of dying, and this is the ripple effect of drought that has escalated to starvation there. Just yesterday, the government flagged off a consignment of relief food headed to Marsabit as the drought continues to bite there. And as far as matters politics across the counties are concerned, is that 8 women are in a race to succeed Sabina Chege in the position that she previously held. We'll be getting into details as we speak matters of politics. And now talking about politics, the headache about the running mate, or rather the deputy president now. Around Azimio's Kalonzo wants on changes in deal.
in this particular kicker is that leaders ask the registrar of political parties not to recognize amended coalition agreements, say what they signed was altered without their consent. Is it the first time that we've heard that, whatever a politician penned, or rather the deal, this was not the deal that we had agreed to? Well, your guess is as good as mine. We've had it even when it came to the changeover for Nairobi County there, with embattled former Governor Mike Sonko coming out and saying that he really doesn't know, or he did not know whatever he had penned, or rather he had agreed to. Now it is the turn of Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka, who says it is apparent. This is a letter to the registrar of political parties. It is apparent that the agreement lodged on 1st April was withdrawn and certain clauses amended or altered without the consent of all parties. That is what is happening in as far as matters politics are concerned. And talking about careers and journalism is that a group of ladies under Amwick have said more women are joining newsrooms, but few have risen to top positions. Now, this was in a meeting that was held by women in media, and some of the sentiments that were shared. We have Mercy Njoroge, who's a trainer journalist for human rights. She said women were allocated soft gigs like entertainment and fashion, leaving the hard gigs of economy, politics and sports to men. On the other hand, Joseph Odindo, a media consultant, he's of opinion that historically there were few women entering journalism. The culture at the time was chauvinistic, hostile and male-dominated. Judy Kaberia, who is the Amwick executive director, opines that sexual harassment, pay disparities and career stagnation undermine the worth of female journalists and push them out of the newsroom. This was a forum that was attended and organized by Association of Media Women in Kenya, Amwick. So 35% is the top management of Kenyan media, according to research commissioned by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, while 26% is a portion of government roles globally in new organizations that were held by women in 2011. Now, Amwick has pushed for hard, reasonable policies to make the newsroom hospitable for women. Remember, as we marked the International Women's Day, the slogan was, and the theme was, breaking the bias. That's just but a sneak peek of what we have on our various dailies. The conversation continues right here on KBC Channel 1. And now we're going to be fully focusing on what is happening in the political scene with my colleague, Victor Olo. To you, Victor.